Now for the moment of truth, we are going to install the front suspension onto the front of the chassis. Our springs for this car are a bit different. The ALF1’26 has a single plane suspension, so it only pivots left and right. It doesn't go up and down like a normal suspension. And instead of springs, we have these silicone damper. So there's 3 different rates. This is a 50 Shore silicone cylinder, a 35 Shore silicone damper, and a 70 Shore silicone damper. So essentially soft, medium, hard. We're going to go ahead and install the medium silicone dampers. So first things first, we're going to take our assembly, we're going to tidy up the servo wiring, and we are going to locate these 4 screw holes that are going to go over the 2 unthreaded balls and these 2 slotted holes here and here. And we're going to locate everything and push everything together. Okay, so it should rotate left and right pretty freely. To lock the assembly down, we are going to use 2 M3 lock nuts on the front and the rear exposed screws. So we're going to use lock nuts on this screw and this forward screw up here. And you can just tighten these all the way down. This guy, you might want to move the servo all the way over to get it started. Can't see what you're doing. Okay. So after these 2 nuts are tightened down, the suspension still should move really free. And this is where our silicone dampers are going to now be mounted. So they essentially go over the 2 remaining long screws, like that. And then you're going to take 2 of the steel washers and 1 on each side. So without moving the front suspension too much, you're then going to take 2 M3 lock nuts and put those over the rest of the assembly. So it should look like that. And a good starting spot for these guys, you're going to turn these nuts down. Essentially turning these nuts down is like adjusting your spring rate, adjusting how much free suspension movement you have, how far the suspension can move. So you want to typically move these two nuts up and down together, or at least the same amount. These 2 nuts are also what control the tweak of the car. So if you put the car on corner scales and it's a little off left to right, you can adjust the offset of these screws to get the car back scaled correctly. So I'm going to turn these down about 8 turns. Maybe 8's too much. Let's go to 6. Okay, 6. And then we'll do 6 on the other side. Okay, so that's 6 turns. So you shouldn't really feel any like free play, like there shouldn't be any air gaps in the silicone damping. It should feel nice and smooth. You only need, 4 or 5 millimeters of suspension travel. These cars are pretty low to the ground, so just a little bit of movement is all you need. If you want a slightly stiffer feel, you can turn these down another turn. If you want slightly softer, you can turn these up, or you can change to the extra silicone dampers to get an even stiffer or softer feel. So that's it. That's the front suspension. It's on the car. It's mounted. We're ready to go. So now it's just installing wings and we're done. Let's assemble some wings. So we can start with the rear wing. It's constructed out of TPU, so similar to like a sedan front bumper. It's very flexible, very durable. The side plates are a hard plastic. They'll need to screw on, so we'll take some M2.5x6 button heads and get those started in the side plates. And there's holes on the side of the wing that these guys will thread into. The screws for the side wing plates don't need to be super tight. TPU is sort of like a rubber, so the threads sort of just collapse around the plastic. So if you try and over tighten it, it'll just keep spinning. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's stripped out. It's just the plastic moves out of the way of the thread. So this is enough to keep it locked in there and secured. So we can do the same thing with the other side. The other thing to note, the wheel arch goes towards the front of the wing. The rear of the wing, the profile should be square. The front should have the curve. Okay, one more. Okay, so that's the rear wing assembly. It's all constructed. To mount the rear wing to the chassis, there's going to be two M3x12 button heads and two M3 steel washers. So you're going to put those one over the other. And these two screws are going to go into the back holes of the wing. So basically like that. And you should be able to push these in fairly easily, and they should hold in place. We can go ahead and install this now, actually. So here is our chassis, and these two holes are the rear wing mount holes. With TPU, again, it's like a rubber, so you don't have to necessarily like over tighten the screws down onto the wing mount. You're just going to compress the rubber, the TPU, and it's just going to move out of the way. So you just want it to basically where the screw and the washer are just compressing the wing just enough. Okay, so you can see there that the washer's down, the screw's down, and it's just compressing up against the wing and the wing mount, and the rear wing is mounted and assembled. So we can move on to the front wing. Front wing again is TPU 3D printed plastic. Front wing mount itself is routed carbon fiber, and then there is a plastic skid plate. There are a couple of these included in the kit for spares. So first thing I like to do is identify there is a countersink on this wing mount. That countersink is for the front body post. So we can go ahead and grab an M3x8 countersunk screw and put that into the hole with the countersink and tighten the body post down. Now that guy's tight, I'm just gonna arbitrarily just stick in some body clips. Okay, so this at least identifies what's top and what's bottom. So now there are several M4x12 screws. They're both 12 millimeters long. One is a self-tap thread, one is a machine thread. We're going to need the self-tap thread first. They will go into these 4 holes here, through the skid plate, through the carbon wing mount. They might get a little hung up through the carbon. So I like to take a screwdriver and basically start the first one like that, and that keeps it all in place. And then you can take the wing, and there's a mating pattern here, and screw this all together. Okay. So now that that first one is in, you can repeat the process for the other 3. All right, so that's the front wing assembly. This is the assembly that would come like in spare parts. This wing assembly is compatible with like a Tamiya 104. So this M4 bolt pattern is the same that's on, you know, Tamiya, X-Ray, Exotech, Roche, you name it, Prodigy. So now we can go ahead and mount the front wing to the front of the car, and we're just going to use the 2 M4x12 machine screws and the 2 M4 lock nuts. I like to get both of them started before I start torquing everything down with the nut driver. That way I know everything gets seated correctly. So now that both nuts are started, I can go ahead and grab my 7mm nut driver and torque everything down. Cool. Yeah, so this is an assembled ALF1’26 kit. You'll need to supply your own rear axle and electronics besides the servo. You have to supply your own body, wheels, tires, etc. So this is the base kit. You're going to get some extra parts. You'll have some silicone dampers. You'll have ride height shims. You'll have the extra battery box. You'll have several different upper arms to choose from. A couple different rear roll center adjustments. Those are super handy. That's my first usually tuning aid. You'll have front roll center adjustments, a wing spacer, a couple of extra wing mounts, some extra damper pieces for up here, and then extra bump springs. So all this stuff gets included in the kit. There is a setup sheet online. Please let us know if you have any questions. Don't hesitate to reach out. And yeah, can't wait to see these cars on track. Thanks, everybody.